Hello, everybody. This is Justin Case of American Newscape, rejoining our friend, coach, mentor, and transformational guy, Jeff Griffin of Griffin Motivation, back for another installment of American Awesome. Hello, Jeff. Welcome back to American Newscape.
How you doing there, Justin? So glad to be back. So glad to be back in America, and glad to be back with you and your audience.
Well, we missed you, Jeff. There's been a slight absence, and as I mentioned to others, you are therapeutic in your own right. You can't help but talk to us without helping us.
Well, I hope so. One time my wife and I were having a conversation, and some people were like, "Are you always this positive? Are you always this upbeat?" And the answer is no, I wasn't, and no, I'm not. But one time my wife was, telling me, she's like, "Hey, will you just bring it down a little bit?" And I made and I made the mistake by saying, "Will you bring it up a bit?" And that was not the right thing to say.
Oh, my. Jeff. Que lástima, as they like to say in my part of the woods. Okay. Well, even I'll bet your game face is a very positive attitude. So, and for the most part, you're positive.
100%. I've learned to reframe things, flip the switch, and reframe things and see things as they could be instead of what they are, or look at things of what I can do instead of what I can't do. And so I know we've talked about that before in the past, but what's interesting is once we tell ourselves that we can't, that word "I can't" is so debilitating. It's poisonous. It's limiting. And John Asraf once said that by the time we're 17 years old, we hear that word 150,000 times. I don't know who comes up with that survey. I don't know who comes up with that number. It's like people saying that we swallow 14 flies in our lifetime. I'm like, seriously, who's counting the number of flies or spiders that we're swallowing here? And I'm like, okay, I don't know. But they say that 78% of statistics are made up on the spot. So anyway, 150,000 times we hear the word "I can't" by the time we're 17 years old. And that word, one thing that I do know is that word is debilitating, it's poisonous, it's limiting. And as soon as we tell ourselves that we can't, our mind accepts it and it shuts down all the possibilities of finding the solution. And I've learned that every minute we doubt it's possible, we give up 60 seconds in finding the solution. And so it's crucial, Justin, that we learn how to reframe and flip the switch and be able to focus on things that we can do instead of what we can't do. And so had an opportunity to go to Berlin and speak with a great organization, a great big huge organization of men and women who are CEOs and leaders of this world, and had a chance to share a few insights to them, to help them be a little bit more positive, to help them with their attitude of gratitude, because I've learned that gratitude determines altitude. And as soon as you're up there higher, you get to see things a little bit different. And the world's a little bit different, 30,000 feet in the air instead of, at ground level.
Well, you're too young for this, but I was brought up on the little engine that could. And I bought into that. I bought into that as a small child. And I think we all need that. And one thing I do remember, Jeff, you and I both abhor one phrase that they like to use, and now I'm adding another one to it. First one is, "It is what it is." That is a loser's mantra if I've ever heard one. And the other one, in professional sports, particularly football, I'm hearing "next man up." That makes absolutely no sense to me. It's that concept of team and is what they need, and they're talking about the next man up, and it is what it is. It absolutely it is what it is.
Absolutely. And so how do you interpret that as a loser mentality? Because I agree with you. I'm like, accepting what it is, you're just not willing to, expand your thinking, expand the possibilities, expand your resources. Again, going back to what I said about flipping the switch and reframing things a little bit different, because 32 degrees is the temperature of melting,
Right.
and 32 degrees is the temperature of freezing. It just depends on which direction you're going to, which direction you're going. And so, expound a little bit on that, because, I'd love to hear your perspective on that. It is what it is a loser mentality.
Well, it is. It's total defeat, and we only hear that in conversations when people have resolved that there's a problem that they can't address, or there's a problem they will not address, or a problem that they don't want to tackle. And it just galls me when I hear it. And it's become part of is vernacular the right word for it? It's part of our common language, and it is a loser's mantra. And we need to take that out of our vocabulary, just like can't. I can't do that. Well, probably can if I apply myself. If I take your concept of flipping the switch and looking at it from a different perspective, I might get on top of that problem. I think I can. I think I can, said the little engine that could.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, your listeners who are listening right now or watching, they might have implemented that as well. Where like, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. I use that mantra trying to climb up the pole that we're supposed to, the rope that we're supposed to, climb in grade school, and ring the bell. I'm like, I'm not strong enough to pull myself up here. And I started using that I think I can mantra. And then it changed from I think I can to I know I can. I know I can. I'm like, I know I can. I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, where you're like, okay, I think I can. No, I know I can. And then you keep going, and it's not happening as fast as you thought it could, even though it can. And so then you start to allow those demons of doubt, fear, those demons of doubt to creep in, and then you start to think, I thought I could. I thought I could. And so now you have a choice. You can either stop and give up, or you can keep on going and continue to walk in that darkness long before you ever see the end or the light at the end of the tunnel. And eventually what happens there is, if you don't stop moving, you might be able, to get away with thinking about, oh, I thought I could for a short time. But then eventually, if you keep on going, something just happens and something clicks, and all of a sudden you're like, boom, you get to the other side, or you get to the top, or you accomplish what it is that you want to do. And so it goes from I think I can to I know I can to I thought I could to I'm glad I did.
Right.
I'm glad I kept going. I'm glad, I eliminated those excuses. I'm glad I stopped, using the word I can't. I'm glad I didn't accept the mantra of it is what it is, because it doesn't have to be.
Well, that's why you're so important to us, Jeff, because you have overcome all these things, and we see you in a very positive light. Not only have you found that light, you take the time to try and share it with us.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I went to, I went to Berlin, as I mentioned, and I was going to go to Montana because this guy who has a great fishing outfit. He goes fishing in Wyoming, in Idaho, and Montana, and he just put together this boat that allows for disabled fishermen, people who are in wheelchairs, people who struggle to get on and off a boat, which there's a lot of able-bodied men
Yeah.
and women struggle getting on and off that boat. But he called me up. He's like, listen, Griff, we are going to break a champagne bottle on this boat. We're going to give it to the group of people that are up there in Montana, and they're gonna house it. They're gonna use it, and I can go up there and get on the river whenever I want to. It's a great win-win situation. He's like, would you like to come? I'm like, absolutely would I like to come. I'm coming fishing. And then I get a phone call from my buddy that we've been trying to negotiate this deal, this opportunity to go and share the 3Ds with his team members of the Dell computer system, the high level salesman. And so they were doing an event with Intel. So Dell and Intel out there in Nashville. He's like, but it's this date, the same date that I was supposed to go fishing. So I'm like, oh my goodness, what do I do? Do I go fishing, or do I go and share these insights with Intel and Dell? And so I'm like, well, I've got to put some food on the table. I'm spending money to get to Montana to go fishing. these guys are paying me to come and share some insights for them. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to Dell Intel, and it was great to be able to go and share these things on how to deal with these major challenges and difficult setbacks that we're all going to experience. And then I flew back on Saturday, just to turn around and fly to Berlin to share with this YPO group. And I was the opening keynote. And Boris Becker, I don't know if you've heard of him.
I think he played a little tennis, maybe a little tennis.
Yeah, a little bit of tennis. Wimbledon champion at the age of 17. He was telling the story where his mom's like, "You have to go to school, even though you won $1 million. You have to go to school." And so he goes to high school, and he's trying to deal with all this stuff, and he had some wrestles with his parents because he thought he was all that, and he was in tennis, and so he built this persona, and he had this identity of this master champion, which he was in tennis. And he told about the story of all that being taken away, similar to my story of, I was a young man who chased after his dream to be a collegiate football player, and that was, stripped away from me, taken away from me as I fell 40 feet from some scaffolding in a construction accident, and I broke my back, leaving me paralyzed from the waist down. And so my identity of my physicality, being able to run, jump, and catch was all taken away from me. I'm like, okay, so now what do I do? Similar situation with Boris Becker. He's like, I was this tennis champion, and now that's, I've been put into prison where I'm with murderers and thieves and all these other hardcore criminals. And he's like, well, now what do I do? So this challenge that he's faced with is, he's like, okay, how do I deal with this difficult challenge or major setback? And so again, it goes back to the 3Ds that I share everywhere I go, and that is, do you have a desire that's going to help you get through those tough times? That's going to help you get through those moments where you're like, when you first start out by saying, I think I can. Wait, no, I know I can. Oh, I thought I could. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I kept on going. And the only way to keep on going is to have that process in place. And so the way to develop a definite, deliberate, and burning desire is to work on that daily dime. And so, that daily dime all the time is the difference maker. It is what, you just focus on the small little changes, 1% every day, or 1 degree every day. It makes a difference one way or the other. And so again, that daily dime is essential. And so the next D besides desire is the dream, the destination. Do you know where you want to go? Do you know what you want to do? Do you know what you want to become? Is it crystal clear? Can you hear that song that sings inside your soul? And some of us don't slow down long enough to listen to that music that's singing inside our souls. Some of us, are barely breathing and calling it a life because we're not dreaming. But once we have that dream, and once we have that vision, and once we have that destination, we start living a life in HD. We start living a life in color. We start weaving a tapestry of dreams that's going to hang on somebody else's social media wall. And then we begin to live a life that takes our breath away. And of course, that leads us to the last D, which is do. The daily dime, you're doing it. The mental exercises, you're doing it. The steps that you need to do to go and accomplish it, you're doing it. And I love the quote by Vince Lombardi that says that man cannot dream himself into character; he must hammer and forge one for himself.
Wow.
And so you need all three, and that will help you with the foundation that's going to hold up your dream, that's going to help you deal with those difficult challenges and major setbacks. It all goes back to those 3Ds. Those 3Ds are at the foundation of every problem. And so every minute you doubt it's possible, you give up 60 seconds and find the solution. And we have the solution. And if you're interested in having the solution as well, I would invite everyone who's still here, who's still listening, that wants to be a champion, like Boris Becker, or who wants to be the top salesman like Dell and Intel, to go and get the Daily Dime, to go and get the online course, to go and get the book, I'm Possible, Desire, Dream, Do, to go and get the companionship book called Endless Possibilities. And of course, you can find that at griffinmotivation.com. And you get 2 books, free shipping. And we're getting close to the holidays. We're getting close to those days where you're going to give out gifts. What better gift than to give somebody the ability to flip the switch, reframe things, and focus on what they can do instead of what they can't do.
Oh, absolutely, Jeff. One thing, you sparked a thought, as you often do. One thing you and Boris Becker have in common: you were not born champions. You became champions.
Absolutely. You can develop a burning desire. You can develop a positive attitude. You can develop a don't quit mindset. And again, inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is hard. If you try to consume it all at once, it won't happen. You'll regurgitate it all up, or you'll choke on it, or you'll give up quick. But if you take it inch by inch, the Daily Dime, all the time, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, you're going to become what it is that you were created to be.
How cool is that? Well, Jeff, why don't you leave us with a final thought? I know you believe you have, but give us one more final thought, and we'll put this in the can, so to speak.
Absolutely. So here's the thought. Here's the thought that I want to give to you. And that is to start today. Just start. So many times we get paralyzed with the insurmountable idea, or sometimes they say that we're paralyzed with the analysis of paralysis. We're trying to figure things out and do all these things and have it perfectly laid out before we begin. I would say just get going, just get moving, because once you start to put yourself in motion, it changes the energy. And so then that's where the emotion comes from, is you're actually doing something. And once you start doing, you start finding the answers, you start finding the solutions, doors start opening up for you. It's just, when we're complacent and doing nothing, and nothing happens. So just get going. Just do one thing. Do one thing today. And if that one thing is to look at griffinmotivation.com, that's great. If that one thing is to smile at somebody that you never smiled before, because a smile is a crooked line that sets things straight. And a smile is one of the simplest things that we can do that will change your energy and that person that you're smiling to's energy as well. So just get going. Just do.
Hey, Jeff, thank you. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Remember, additional information and links are provided in this video's Read More. Today's the day to subscribe to this channel. Please learn more about Jeff Griffin and keep company with us at this cool kid's table.